So I've had a rash of people threatening me with bodily harm and death threats and everything else lately for a very odd reason. A while back, I made videos about Kent Hovind and Ken Ham, two young Earth creationists, just basically dissecting what they say, and I don't want to call it debunking them, but I mean debunking them. And I don't know, I guess people take offense with that sometimes and tell me that they're gonna come get me and gonna do this or that, which doesn't bother me in the least. Come on, you know, treat you like everybody else who wants to do anything to me. But anyway, I kind of wonder if one of them in particular, his name was DK, his comment is no longer up, but I have a screenshot of it. But he said, "I'm going to come get you, boy, and if you talk about Kent Hovind anymore, I'm gonna come faster." I thought that was kind of funny because Kent Hovind always calls people boy. I don't know what his obsession is with, you know, demeaning and belittling people, but you know, to call a grown man boy is like something flying around here. You know, it's just kind of a poke in the eye, you know, kind of like what he does with Aaron Ra. Well, won't call him by his name, Aaron Ra, even though he legally had his name changed. Calls him whatever else. I don't even know what Aaron's real name is, but anyway. So I kind of somewhat suspect that the person threatening me may have been Kent or somebody in his little group, because he uses that phrase so much that it just makes me wonder, like, does he have a burner account and he's running around trying to bully people into silence, which is stupid because it's like, bring it on, freaking keyboard warriors. But you know, I personally have nothing against Kent Hovind or Ken Ham. My problem with them lies in their complete inability just to reason. I mean, the mental gymnastics they take to prove young Earth and the flood and creation and whatever is just, it has to be exhausting. I mean, literally, just creation in itself. I mean, you know, most Jews that I've talked to understand what the Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 is. It's two different creation stories by two different tribes, thrown in there to make them both happy. It wasn't meant to be literal. You know, whether it's metaphorical, whether it's, you know, I don't know what it is, but you know, it was never meant to be a literal thing. I'm sure it had some kind of cultural significance with the numbers and whatever, but, you know, furthermore, you know, it couldn't have happened. You know, take the Genesis 1 account, you know, I mean, light was created before the sun. I mean, you could kind of, I get that. You know, that's possible, but waters, plants before the sun created heat is impossible. We know, you know, the frozen state of planets that are far away from the sun, even slightly farther away. Water is frozen. I mean, shoot, methane's frozen. You know, nitrogen is frozen. You know, all these elements on these planets are frozen. So, you know, much less plants. I mean, you know, let's be real. So with no sun, that's just slightly farther away from the sun. So take the sun out of the equation. The sun is created the next day. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. It just shows that the people who wrote Genesis had no concept of the scientific nature of, or the scientific properties of nature. So it must mean something else. You know, whether, I don't know what they intended it to mean, but it clearly doesn't mean what it says. And the fact that chapter 2 goes back and basically is at odds with chapter 1 is just more proof that it's two different stories put together to satisfy two different groups of people. That's Occam's razor. That's the most logical argument, given the information that you have. And another thing he goes on about, which this is more Kent Ham, the flood. The flood could have been a localized event. You know, I don't see any way that it could have happened. You know, Kent Ham is the same thing. I mean, it is exhausting the way he has tried to make this fit and make this work. From the boat to, you know, the moon pool to the, you know, now we have a window. Instead of one little window like the Bible says, 1 cubit by 1 cubit, now we have a window going all the way around the ark, because now that we know science, we know that that small of a window in a giant boat full of people and animals would quickly suffocate. Like, quickly suffocate. So, and I'm not even so sure that a 1 cubit window around the boat would even work. I don't know that that's enough. I don't know that that's enough fresh air circulation to, you know, keep all that going, much less with the poop and the methane produced by that. It's just, you know, I don't know that who really outside of, I don't think it was ever really taken literally until recently. But anyway, I mean, it's just stuff like that. It's like, instead of these guys like using their brain and being like, okay, let's try to figure out what the author was getting at with these stories. Maybe they were just stories, but maybe they have some kind of deeper meaning. Instead, you try to shoehorn it into the Bible is never incorrect. And let's just, you know, take what the Bible says and make it real. It just doesn't work. So, you know, that in and of itself is just, you know, I think they are, you know, I mean, Kent is probably one of the most arrogant people I've ever seen on YouTube. You know, Kent Ham seems sincere. He doesn't seem arrogant. You know, he's a bit of a know-it-all too, but I mean, he's not on the Kent Hovind level. I think Kent Ham would probably be a fun guy to hang out with, you know, and see his park and all that he's done. But Kent is just, you know, I don't know what he just. If there was a more unlikable Christian on YouTube, I'm not sure who that is. Just, I don't know, the way he sits there and, you know, hits the SpongeBob and you know, he's got this group of people who just, you know, prop him up like he's hilarious, and, you know, this guru God figure, you know, just omniscient, you know, butthead. I don't really understand the whole the whole infatuation with him, honestly. I mean, he's just a really unlikable, narrow-minded person. But whatever, he's got his niche down there in Alabama and online, and apparently now he has people running around. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't know that he's even involved, but people who are clearly fans of his are running around threatening people's lives and whatnot. So whatever his message is clearly not getting across. You know, if his message is God's love and Jesus Christ and whatever, that's not what people are taking out of it. You know, whether or not that's his fault, I'll let everybody else decide. I really don't care. But anyway, I'm not going to stop making videos about those two and anybody else that I find that I don't agree with. So keep writing me. I'll keep reporting you. So anyway, everybody have a good day.